Bad chair.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meeting by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Ethiopian and Lenape people.
Playback. Okay.
Hey, hello, Echo, are you there? Okay, awesome, thanks, thank you. Hello, Echo, are you there? Oh, yeah, okay, thanks, thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, we're all learning.
Hello, Echo, are you there? Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Can you just turn the volume down on both of those laptops?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that we're good.
that should work. Awesome,
Let's
sweet.
Okay, announcements. We're gonna have a joint meeting with the town here at Village Hall on July 10th, starting at 7 p.m. The two primary topics will include the exploration of consolidation of the town and the village. And then topic number 2, we're going to report out on where we are as far as the town police department building and the village fire department building solar array projects. We're not hearing from County Legislator Lamina Grace, who we heard from last meeting. And then I'll just add that the Shade Tree Commission is looking for new members. That was added on our announcements. I'm assuming, Alex, you want to share some announcements?
Just want to make sure everyone has this info saved. Narcan and other harm reduction services get literally anywhere in Ulster, thanks to Ellenville Regional's Project Rescue Program. So you can just text 21000 or look up Ellenville Regional, Project Rescue, and they'll link up with you and ask like, what do you want? They have Narcan, other harm reduction supplies like test kits, snort kits, sex kits, and stuff like that. And the Never Use Alone hotline did update recently, so please change it in your phones, 1-877-696-1996. And if you go to the neverusealone.com, like the website, they have some good updates there, about texting services, like that you can do directly on the website too. So if you don't have like phone service, but have like Wi-Fi, like you can utilize that. And Narcan trainings are always available online at opioidpreventionnv.org/Narcan-training. And of course, the free food fridge is outside Village Hall here at 55 Platicville Avenue. Please donate if you can, volunteer if you can, and don't be shy about using that resource. That's it for now.
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Sana.
So if you text home to 741-741 when you're feeling depressed, anxious, or suicidal, a crisis worker will text you back immediately and continue to text with you. So many people don't like talking on the phone and would be more comfortable texting. It's a free service to anyone, teens, adults, anyone who lives in the US. It's run by the crisis text line. It won't matter, so keep that number handy and share it. Also, Family of New Paltz is helping our neighbors, and any donations you can make. small or large financially are great because they can help people pay their bills, but also if you have clothes to donate that are, you know, clean and good condition and correct for the kind of weather that we're having now, you can donate there. Please don't put anything that isn't food into the free food fridge.
I think that's it as far as announcements from our board. I'm going to move that we accept the consent agenda.
We didn't need to change anything?
Nope,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment, are you here to make a public comment? Feel free to come up to the table, state your name.
Okay, my name is Pam O'Day. You live in New Paltz? Did you get that?
Say your name one more time, please.
Pam O'Day,
Okay.
yes. When I met some of you at the New Paltz Festival, I was gathering signatures for ranked choice voting. So I know that there is interest among the town and the village, but I think the Ulster County wasn't going to allow it to happen. So I don't know the whole history, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention again that ranked choice voting is already adopted in New York City. All they have to do is scale it up. They have the software so that we can use it statewide like they do in Maine and Alaska. So those people won't have to worry about splitting the vote, spoiling the ballot, because they can choose their candidates in order of preference. 1, 2, 3, and somebody has to get 50% of the vote. If nobody does, they do, it's basically an instant runoff vote rather than having a sequential election, which costs more money. They would just look at people's second choice and top up the 2 contenders who had more votes. So it's an amazing kind of election. I lived in San Francisco 20 years ago when they were adopting it, so I helped in the election polls to educate people about it. It was confusing at first, but once they get it, they're like, oh yeah, this makes sense, because you don't ever have to waste your vote again, and you don't have to vote for the lesser of 2 evils, which Jerry Garcia said is still evil. So I just want to bring it to your attention. I have a letter here with a lot of references, and Stephen Hill was the man who made it happen in San Francisco. There's some links to articles that he has written. Steve Hellier helped to get it adopted in Oakland and Berkeley. He lives in Dutchess County. There's an organization called Unite New York, which is putting full speed ahead to get it adopted. And Chris Hewitt, who works as a representative for Worcester and Wolversing, is creating a memorialization resolution to send to all. So just letting you know that the natives are restless and want to let you know what we're up to. And I don't know if you can do anything other than present things to the county and see if they're more amenable at this point, because I'm not sure when it was approached the last time, but do you have any questions about it that I might be able to answer? I'd be happy to, or I can just leave this with you.
So you said that the county had considered it in the past, but then chose not to?
It was either New Paltz Village or town that was trying to get it adopted, village or town wise, and I'm not sure which it was.
Well, our board has discussed it in the past and, you know, had folks present on how it could work, but
My understanding was that the county had authority and wouldn't let it go forward, but I may be wrong. I'm not sure. I don't know all the details.
so I was the assistant then, so it was interesting because it was a little bit more complicated, because at that time, we didn't have general elections in the village. You know, so like that was like a much more, like that had to be a step, so like it wasn't really viable.
Yeah.
As far as like doing it at that time, but since then, because that's a long time ago now.
Yeah, and New York City has
We
those,
moved
yeah.
to the general cycle and all of that, so I don't know if we would actually have control. I think we now don't have control.
Yeah,
It would be like up to what the county board of elections does.
right.
But now I think the viability would make sense. I just don't know if we have any other municipalities in the county that are also like, that are still on like a weird village only schedule. Because I think that was kind of like the concern from the commissioners, but also, no, Ashley was commissioner then, but the Republican commissioner is also new since then, so
Yeah.
definitely a different landscape.
Yeah.
And worth like seeing kind of like what the vibe is, I guess, on the county level, yeah.
In New York City already, again, they have the software and they just need to scale it up.
Yeah.
It also can be adopted federally and go down, from the top to the bottom. So just wanted to, put it on the radar for you folks. I'll leave this with you.
I know we use it within the Ulster County Dams.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yep. Alrighty.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty, I must leave, but I'll watch the rest on Zoom.
Great, awesome, thanks for coming.
On your service.
Do we have any public comments from folks online on Zoom? Do we have anyone participating on Zoom?
There's one person.
Oh, hey, Amanda.
It's our town supervisor.
Yay.
Thank you for participation.
There she is.
Hi, Amanda. Amanda, did you want to make a public comment?
No, just that we're looking forward to the joint meeting in July.
Yay.
Okay, so I'm gonna get into our business agenda. I added as agenda item number 1, the proposed change to our affordable housing law. I think we discussed this at our last meeting. Just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page in terms of next steps. Where are we at?
I'm sorry.
It wasn't necessarily a question to you, Brad.
Yeah.
I thought we were waiting for an update and to know where we left things
An
off.
update from who?
From people who work here at Village Hall, they were gonna tell us.
Well, had we approved it?
Well, if we didn't, then I would like to, but if we didn't, then we did close the public hearing.
Yes, because maybe what happened was, right, we had an ambitious plan where we were gonna make additional changes, but then we dialed that back and said, well, let's make those additional changes at a later date, but at least let's move forward with the change for the larger apartments to
Right,
15%.
which I
So
thought,
we discussed it, but we didn't take an action. Is that where we've left it?
I'm not clear.
I think that is where it was left, and I believe the public hearing was closed. And I think it was one of those meetings that went until very late. So I don't even know what our motion was, so if like, I don't see any harm in just like on this issue, like re-voting if we have to.
Okay.
Because we can't, because the other changes that I wanted to look at were proposed by Affordable Housing Board member Adele. Like about just like further massaging the language about the units being like equal and, how to kind of address amenities and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was not included in what was on the public hearing. So it
Right.
would have started that process over, it would have been something that we could not have continued
Right,
in
so
the
we-
same public hearing. So we need to just pass it. If we didn't,
So we had a draft amendment, and then we closed the public hearing on that draft amendment. So one of us can make a motion to move
yeah,
an approval of the amendment. So Stana just moved it, I seconded it. Any further discussion?
just, reiterating the note that, we're looking at the entirety of the old chapter 132 on housing, where back in 2018, certain sections that do address important fire safety issues that are very unique to a university host community and aren't necessarily part of state code and are helpful for the landlords and tenants to actually have in there, went missing. So I have like a side-by-side doc from the old code, and then all the new stuff we've done since then, and figuring out what absolutely needs to be put back in, and a few other proposed massages. For example, since 2018, the state did update some housing laws. So parts of our security deposit law are no longer valid.
Do we even have a security deposit law? I thought
We do.
it's still on the books.
Because we didn't
I didn't know
rescind
that we
it, and
ever,
there's one part of it that is actually still stands, is our, what's the word for three, trouble damages.
yeah.
That's one part that actually stands
I thought we were
still.
preempted by the state.
No, that part is not.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's important, or at least that's the understanding from different, folks who, are attorneys that have been helping village tenants with issues.
Okay,
Yeah, and so because of that, like, I wanted to look really closely at like how to kind of like remove things that might confuse people. Because they were preempted by state, but leave in other things, so just explaining that we're gonna revisit other issues in the housing code. But we need to just make sure this part, on the proposed amendment gets voted on, so. That's
Okay.
my discussion.
okay, so my addition to the discussion is, so Brad, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back and look for the draft language as far as the affordable housing laws from, a handful of meetings ago. And then that is the language that you're gonna include in the meeting minutes that we just voted on. And then you're gonna work with Nicole to make sure that that is sent to the Department of State, and, she'll know next steps in terms of how to get the law moved forward. All in favor? Great. Next item, so, we have a request from our Department of Public Works to mill and pave on John Street. And this is from Prospect all the way down to Colonial. And we would be using CHIP funds, just like we're planning to use for the part of the work to update the sidewalks on Prospect Street. And I wanted to emphasize that repaving of existing highways without adding new travel lanes is a type 2 action under seeker, so no further action is needed. So customarily what our board does when we have type 2 actions, we're not like broadcasting a formal seeker determination because it's a type 2. So that's also what we did as far as the sidewalk work on Prospect Street. That is also in our board's view and our attorney's view to be considered a type 2 action. Because there were some questions about whether a different type of seeker review would be involved for a sidewalk project. So I'm kind of using the John Street paving project to illustrate, when something is a type 2, we're not making a formal seeker determination. So jumping ahead to item number 3, we have a proposed memorandum of understanding. So this was a document that was shared with the attorneys representing the property owners at 11 Prospect Street and 15 Prospect Street. And this has to do with the property owners having requested that the bluestone pavers that function as a sidewalk path in front of those properties, those property owners had asked that they be excluded from the current project where we're improving and replacing the sidewalks on Prospect Street. So the total area was 912 linear feet of sidewalks. And these two properties at 11 and 15 represent a combined 200 linear feet, 15 at 11 Prospect. Or I'm sorry, 50 at 11 Prospect and 150 at 15 Prospect. So the conversation that we've had for some time as a board is that we were very motivated to make these improvements to the walking paths, AKA sidewalks on Prospect Street, because the condition of those sidewalks was really poor. And we wanted to make sure that they were ADA compliant, as well as much safer for any pedestrian. And it was also a very unique situation. That was the first time that our village had ever considered using CHIPS fund for pedestrian. Customarily, CHIPS was reserved for, vehicles, and, we were able to do the research and see that we could use CHIPS to actually update sidewalks as well. That project has begun. I'm really excited about, the work that I'm seeing taking place. I think it's gonna be, a very welcomed improvement by our community and the residents on Prospect Street. I think what's exciting about it is that it's proximate to the bus station, so one could get off the bus station, probably walk to a variety of destinations within the village via Prospect Street. And, it's a long time coming, it's like, it's no secret that there's many sidewalks throughout the village that would benefit from replacements or improvements, and, this is definitely one of them. So, we just had to, come up with an agreement for these property owners that wanted to keep Bluestone. I continue to have some concerns that the Bluestone, I've taken pictures of every linear feet of that stretch. It's not currently ADA compliant, so we want to make sure that, this MOU includes language that addresses, how our board feels, and the agreement that, we're proposing for these property owners that, that I shared has already been provided to the attorneys representing these two property owners. So I would like to move that we go ahead and officially agree to this MOU with final approval subject to any last minute reviews by the mayor or the village attorney. So does anyone want to second it for further discussion?
I'll second.
Okay.
So one thing I noticed that's missing, and I think I know why, because it's not something that can likely be included, but addressing what happens like when the property like adjacent to that sidewalk like were to sell and stuff, and I realize the reason why is because we're not messing with contract clauses and deeds and all of that, right? But it's just, I think, a question to throw out there, that's gonna be a future problem for future village trustees and mayors and whatnot to possibly contend with,
And also those future property owners,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Because this MOU is basically asking the property owners at 11 and 15 to recognize that they're forfeiting this opportunity to make these sidewalks ADA compliant.
Exactly. So, just want to throw that out there because it's gonna suck for a lot of people down the road. And this whole issue is so interesting. So I really dug into our history and whatnot and looked into some old photos of Prospect Street and when things were built and stuff. And it's definitely a newer, fully populated street, and first mention of any sort of grading that would be like a sidewalk was not until 1911 on Grove Street. So it was just interesting how, in all the discussions, a lot of ideas of what is historic, what is not, a lot of it remains relative, and there's beauty in that, but I think it's important to just always remember that. As a skate park aficionado, I was really excited to learn so much about how our village's history is so much more rooted in concrete than any other type of infrastructure, hard substance, so big ups to concrete.
But concrete also has its challenges. It's not
Yeah.
considered particularly environmental.
Yeah.
You know. A lot of these materials are far from perfect. I would add that the asphaltic concrete that's being included or being used for the pathways on Prospect is, for all intents and purposes, blacktop with some concrete aggregate mixed in for color and for bonding. We end up being like a grayish color, actually very similar in color to the any bluestone, might even be a bit lighter. But any other comments from our village board?
Oh, yeah, that note about like the coloring is how some other communities across the country have kind of dealt with, like, there are different kinds of like flagstone versus modern stuff. Questions, in terms of, making their communities ADA compliant, and that was like, seemed to be, I was like reading letters to the editor from like Minneapolis or something the other night. And like matching the color was like a kind of the compromise that other communities have done, so that kind of made me feel good walking around and seeing, what we have, and I'm like, I think it matches pretty well.
Okay. I'm mostly excited about the new path being without seams.
Yeah.
When you read about ADA compliance, like, it's very interesting because if it discusses a horizontal seam, it can't be greater than half an inch. If it talks about a vertical grade differential, it can't be greater than a quarter of an inch, and generally those differences are what makes walking on any surface challenging. Is you really want pathways and sidewalks to be as smooth as possible for wheelchairs, strollers, people on foot, people on crutches, all of the above.
I think it's unfortunate that, someone who is a member of the village board who has a responsibility to the public, has threatened the village with a lawsuit, to give his way. I think that that's really unfortunate. And upsetting, and I think the fact that he's asking that he believes that his stretch, this stretch that we're talking about, shouldn't be held to being ADA compliant is really unfortunate, because you would think he would wanna make sure that his neighbors could traverse safely. And unfortunately, he's not here for me to talk to him about that tonight. But I wish this had been talked about, sooner, and hadn't gotten to be like this. When the emails were talking about how we were gonna do Prospect Street, so we hadn't wasted a lot of time and energy and money on this.
Yeah, I think that's also very important to emphasize, is that there was an assertion made that this conversation or this initiative was pursued unilaterally by myself. And it's really quite simple to go back into the emails, numerous emails that, I think all of you know that the vast majority of the time I'm including the entire village board on any correspondence that I have with engineers.
I mean,
Anyone who may be involved in a project, like our village DPW superintendent, while we're trying to figure out solutions to problems, and that was 100% the case with this project. This was clearly on everyone's radar going back years and years and years and years.
yeah, I mean, we all saw the emails, but somehow Bill says he didn't, and I don't know how that's possible, because we can see that it was sent out to everybody on the board.
Yeah. On that end too, like, I guess like it's mentioned in the MOU, but we should just bring it up, too, is like, I am, like, I have to just say, I am a little concerned, like, about those seams that will be, and like, just kind of the inconsistency that's gonna happen, and like, just a little worried that it might cause more immediate problems, and so in the MOU, it does highlight, you know, that if like somebody does fall and get hurt on that section, it's not the village's issue.
Or that these property owners would be holding the village harmless.
Yes.
You know, as a function of this agreement.
But yeah, exactly, which is important, but I just hate like even thinking of that because I know of like just current residents on the street alone, like right now, who, you know, have like mobility issues. You know, let alone like just anybody else in the community at large that, you know, uses that as like, you know, their pedestrian cut through, like so many of us do, take the bus.
Yeah, it's sad because this could have been done already and a lot of the neighbors are upset that it hadn't been done already. And it could have all been settled and done if this had been brought up sooner.
I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 4, so glad Amanda's here. Amanda, you're not obligated to chime in, but we met recently and the town is actively working on, and you were doing this before you were supervisor, actively working on figuring out how you could site solar at the new police department building. And in parallel, the village is working on how we site solar on the fire station building. And this is basically just an update and some actions that we need to take in terms of listing the grants that we're applying for related to the fire station building. You know, I think what we're both trying to do and what we're all excited about is just, you know, comparing notes, like as, you know, the town, you know, unearths information that would make for a better solar array project and us do the same. We're sharing and comparing. And so I just wanted to retroactively approve that the village has applied to the Department of Energy for the low income communities bonus. And that application was submitted on June 20th by our new project manager, Brad Gorfine. Brad, thanks for getting that out and considered for review by the Department of Energy. I would like to move that we approve having submitted that application retroactively, and also in terms of just like dotting i's, you know, when an application is completed, staff, you know, are filling out something where they're attesting to that they're authorized to bind the village to an agreement, so that, you know, that is part of my motion that we're formally agreeing that that the project manager title was authorized to complete that application.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then congratulations. So the NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program, Brad submitted an application where we were trying to secure $15,000 towards this project. So we just found out today that award has been granted.
Yeah.
And we're also in the midst of completing the application paperwork for the county's ARPA funded program, where the county is offering $2.5 million to communities across the county, where you could apply for up to 100K, provided that you have at least $100,000 local match. And that application date is July 5th. We expect to get that out beforehand. And then I just made up that we're calling this tranche number 2, because this is also related to NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program. So we're going to be applying for $225,000 based on the points that the village has secured regarding the CEC, the NYSERDA CEC program. And we're hoping that we receive that award to also use that for a portion of this fire station building project. And that deadline is within the next couple of months. But we anticipate hitting send on that application well before the deadline. Did I miss anything, Brad? Did I get it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of our update, and I know Amanda has been pursuing these grants as well for the police department building. Do you want to add anything, Amanda? Did we miss anything? And any advice you have for us to make sure that we're all on the same page and optimizing these opportunities?
Well, I think you've collected them all together. We got our CEC Clean Energy Community Award a little earlier, so we had to put our application in already. And then I understand what happens is it gets reviewed by NYSERDA, and then you enter into a contract with NYSERDA. Ours is for $150,000. And then, yeah, we're also looking at the county one that has to be in by July 5th. So we already have a pretty good idea of what that project at the Police and Justice Building, the ballpark of what that will cost. And so that's what we're trying to do, is cobble together enough of these to make it work. We'll also be looking at the direct pay from the federal government. And the other day we were at a meeting where someone, I think it was Steve Noble from Kingston, said he thought there was an issue that if you bonded, that you may not be eligible for the full amount. I've tried to look into that some, and I think it more has to do with whether you're asking for more than what the project's costing. And so I've also reached out to somebody at NYSERDA to give us their read on that. So that's where we are. We also had spent already our $5,000 with a company called SunCommon to do a more in-depth look at the project. And part of that involves applying for the interconnection to Central Hudson. So we're waiting to hear back on that, what the result of that is. So I think you'll find the same, requirement. So we'll see what they say. It's all on the same line. So we'll see what happens there.
Great. Yeah, and we can dive in to further details on July 10th. I'm sure by that time we'll have additional information to share out with the public about our two separate but parallel projects.
Right.
Is everyone adopting French language, tranche 1, tranche 2 for this, or is that just us?
That's just a proprietary village adoption of.
Actually, NYSERDA uses them too. They have tranches for their New York Sun incentive. So they change them. So that one's, it's dwindling in amounts, but they keep refilling them, but for less money. So that's one we would hope too. We might, for the Police and Justice Building, we might qualify for about $31,000 back from them. So I would hope, but that's one, once you put it through, I don't think you have to do too much to trigger it. You just have to get in the running while the money's still there, while that tranche is full.
Yeah, I mean, we listed these and tried to break them out into, individual opportunities, just for our own kind of organizational approach to, understanding our project. So, we just thought that this made sense in terms of like listing the different grants, because as Brad, our new project manager is, cutting his teeth, like, all the different acronyms and all the different overlapping grant opportunities, it's a lot to keep track of. So this is just, a way to organize our thoughts, and then to, for the next agenda, just, provide updates based on, where we're at. So we're excited to chat with you further about the two projects on the 10th.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great opportunity, and we're just slightly, a few weeks ahead of you guys on it. So, it's good to share information about how it's going and where we see, the next steps and all that.
Definitely. And then, we have a couple of people from our community who's also been helping, Jolanda and Yvonne Posty who,
Hugely helpful.
yeah, so it's great to have the electeds as well as, some volunteer community members.
Well, since
Um,
they're part of Climate Smart, this is important for them too, because they'll be able to use this for points for Climate Smart, so.
Yeah.
That was a good meeting.
So the next item, it makes a lot of sense that you're here with us too, in case I miss anything. So I made a point to just reach out to Police Chief Matt Sutton on the county's Safe Start to Summer program. So it's basically a traffic safety campaign that I wanted to ask, particularly where the chief had intended to use the speed signs that we had secured from the county. And he explained how we were able to get 2 speed signs, and then we're gonna use the existing town police department speed trailer and put them at 32 North, 32 South, and 208. And then he was saying, like, overall that the focus will be, you know, within the village where it's like more dense. And the targeted areas will include those 3 that I just cited, as well as 299. Is there anything that you would add based on what you've learned about this county initiative?
No, I think it's lucky we were able to get more than one, because I thought they were limiting it to 1 sign per municipality, but maybe because Matt jumped in there real quickly and put in his request, he was able to get more than 1. So that was good. Or maybe somehow, because we're kind of at the borders, maybe we made a case for town and village each needing 1 or something. I don't know, whatever. He did a great job. And I'm really glad that the county's letting us do this, because tracking speeds is very important. And what this will do apparently is it'll flash for both too high and too low. But I think that's, you know, this is part of our quest to control speeds for traffic safety, for pedestrians and bicyclists, so. Yep.
Great. So no action for us. I just wanted to share that out as just a point of information for the community.
And I got one little thing.
Go ahead,
I
Stan.
forgot to add, I had announced it at our last meeting, but the next conversations with the police are here in Peace Park
Right,
tomorrow at 5:30 with Matt.
Tomorrow at 5:30, so it's just like a general, like, opportunity for the
To call
community
and
to
ask questions.
check in with the police chief, with the
Yeah.
new police
And
chief.
if you have any concerns or issues that you want to bring up with the police about how they do things or anything, that you should by all means come and talk to them. Here in Peace
Great,
Park.
thanks for that reminder. Moving on to business agenda item number 6. So with Autumn Seguin's departure from the village, she had been the Board of Ethics and Emergency Preparedness municipal officer or employee who was appointed to each of those committees. So we're adding that as something for our board to consider, you know, who do we want to appoint to Board of Ethics and Emergency Preparedness committees. And I can tell you that emergency preparedness, you know, meets generally historically quarterly, where we'll get together during the day with emergency service folks, people from the college, school district, town, village, and, you know, sometimes do a tabletop emergency preparedness exercise.
Cool.
Sometimes we'll just speak about you know, the importance of emergency preparedness in general. But anyone interested or anyone have any ideas on who might be interested in being the village's appointee for emergency preparedness?
Well,
I just want to be in that room with the emergency preparedness all the time. I think we all like are nerdy about that. I'm sorry, I had interrupted by being like, oh, it's so cool. Sorry.
that's okay. I mean, I don't necessarily need more on my plate, but I am meeting with the county and someone Edgar Rodriguez, who is the newly appointed board member for the town. Tim, you're gonna be joining us.
On Friday, yeah.
And Isilma from Family of New Paltz and a couple others. We're gonna be talking about being more prepared going forward, having something for heating, cooling, and emergencies, and whether there'll be different things in the same place or where the best place is and how we can get everybody trained up for that. So since I'm already working on it, maybe I can take it for now.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would actually make sense.
Even though I don't want more on my plate, it makes sense. It just kind of makes.
And I often will go to those meetings, but if you're the official contact,
Mhm.
and, you know, sometimes we can go to them simultaneously and, you know, if one of us needs to cover, but that'd be great if you were the official emergency preparedness appointee.
I will do that.
Okay.
If at some point it becomes like untenable for me when I have a full-time job or something.
Yeah. So the ethics board, you know, we have individuals appointed to the village ethics board. I don't believe our ethics board has met in my entire tenure. But, you know, at a minimum, I think it would be very useful if we did at least what the town does. So I was first introduced to this actually when I was a town planning board member, where you have to have a financial disclosure statement to serve as an elected or on a committee. Or at least you're like, well, you know, here's stuff that I'm involved in owning. So at least there is a paper trail if, you know, there's ever a situation where you need to look back and be like, oh, well, you did disclose something or you didn't disclose something. I love the idea of like, at least the village making sure that our electeds and appointed officials had done that. So it's really just like probably, and I feel like there's been fits and starts with this where you could kind of take what the town form looks like and just replicate it and at least do that. And then the idea is that, you know, if there was a situation where something need to be referred to an ethics board, at least like the board is populated with volunteers. Anyone interested in being that appointee? Okay, that'd be great.
So do we need to nominate us and vote on us, or are we just saying?
Us.
Stephen and I.
Oh, you
for
wanna
all
be
these
on?
positions. No, for these two positions, that, like we talked about me being the appointee for emergency preparedness. and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I just wanted to, so, Stevie, are you interested in at least, nudging some of the current members of that committee to, you know, look, but not even necessarily start meeting, but even just like circulate the, and I think Dennis Young
He started it.
had started it. You could probably circle back with Dennis and see where that form is. And at least, you know, make sure that, you know, that portion of it was up and running.
Yeah, that would be a huge help.
Amanda, do you know whether, is your board of ethics, do they do anything in addition to, making sure that disclosure statement is being collected?
You know, they deal with when a question comes up. So they meet irregularly because they meet when there's a need. But definitely that form, the town clerk has it and sends it to anyone who's newly elected or newly appointed to fill out. I think you can fill it out online now even, or print it and bring it in. And it asks about you and your immediate family.
Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. I mean, we could probably just make it a Google form, but I would start, Stevie, with reaching out to Dennis Young, because I know that he looked at the town form, and I think he may have even did some massaging of it to, you know, update it at least for village purposes. All right, so I move that we appoint Stevie as the Board of Ethics Committee appointee and Stana as the Emergency Preparedness Committee appointee.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
And the next item is we have a quote that Heather in our Public Works Department shared with us, and this is related to a rental for equipment that would be used at the water treatment. I move that we go ahead and take this recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so during the June 12th village board meeting, we approved versions of the settlement agreement and release authored prior to June 3rd, as recommended by Jewel and our attorneys with regards to Columbia and the Community Choice Aggregation Program. I propose that we adopt the updated versions, which include small changes subsequent to the versions that we adopted on the 12th. So those small changes were a result of the New York State Public Service Commission meeting on June 3rd. I just want to make sure that we've made it clear that we've adopted the most up-to-date settlement agreement and release. Someone want to second it? Any discussion, questions? And I believe the town, you guys took action this week on that as well.
We did, and so we signed the resolution, we voted on the resolution and have it signed by our clerk. I'm not sure now, are we supposed to send it to somebody? What do we do next? We informed them that we had done it, we have adopted it, but do they need a copy of it?
Maybe make sure that Jessica and Hannah at Jewel know that you've done that, and we'll do the same. And yeah, if they need physical copies, signed copies, or originals, they'll tell us.
Okay.
But I think we're doing well in terms of the deadline. It needs to be done by July 16th, I believe.
Right.
Cool.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And excellent news to share. So I attended the Ulster County Transportation Council meeting on Tuesday. We had applied previously for $116,000 for the sidewalk project in the village. So that's the sidewalk project that includes reusing the bluestone down on Huguenot Street south of the monument, as well as a northern portion on Prospect Street above Slate.
I mean, redoing, not reusing. Because you said reusing.
Reusing, yes, reusing, because it seems like there have been some questions and some sort of like games of gotcha.
Yeah.
So the intention is like, if there is bluestone that can be reused, obviously that would be, what would be done. It feels like anytime you breathe the word bluestone, people think that you're just gonna like throw it in the river and forget about it.
Why would we do that?
But any bluestone that is reusable will be reused. Any bluestone that needs to be replaced will be replaced. So the three projects, Huguenot, Prospect, north of Slate, and then Church Street on two sides of Henry W. And then we subsequently asked for an additional $160,000, and both of these are 80% of the it requires a local match. So the village is responsible for the 20% of the cost of these. So the total portion for at least these two pieces of our sidewalk project is $345,000. And we additionally asked for $32,000 in carbon reduction program funds that are being administered by the County Transportation Council for the town's pedestrian and bike path project. So that project includes the need to move 5 fire hydrants. 4 of them are on village property, 1 of them is on town property. So we wanted to make sure that there was money available, and we asked the Transportation Council if some of that carbon reduction program fund money could be used, and we were actually granted $32,000, assuming that the total project cost was $40,000 for new hydrants, valves, and the relocation. So I think that should actually benefit both the town and the village if we're able to apply that money for that full $32,000 towards the project. Because I spoke with Highway Superintendent Chris Marks this morning about how that will work. And it seems like the money for the relocation of the town hydrant was included, but not the village hydrants. But then the physical hardware for all 5 hydrants still needed to be secured. So hopefully this 32K puts a dent in that. And then as far as local match, like the town is easily providing local match towards that project, which should cover the 20% necessary. So just sharing out that was exciting that and we were able to secure that money for the town bike ped project on Henry W.
Right. Yeah, those fire hydrants all had to be relocated because they interfered with the path, and the fire hydrants were old. And so reinstalling them was not a good idea. So this is very good to get them replaced, and the project will attach them to the piping, and they were going to be moved and attached to the piping where it got moved to. So that's part of it anyway, whether it's an old or new hydrant, that's still part of the project. So it's much better to do it with new hydrants.
New hydrants, new valves.
Yep.
Another reason that you don't want to use old hydrants is they can have lead joints. So anytime we can remove lead from our system, we take that opportunity. Okay, I'd like to move that we accept the budget mods for fiscal year ending 5/31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'm gonna move the next 3 items, bills and claims 5/28, bills and claims 6/12. And then the resolution, which I believe is for bills and claims 6/26. I want to second those 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
PB report from our liaison. We're gonna circle back and do that at the next meeting. There's no ZBA liaison update to provide because they haven't met since the last time we reported out on June 12th. And then final item on this agenda is that for our application to the New York State Office of Community Renewal, we'll be applying once again for money to do sewer remediation improvements. So we can comply with the existing DEC consent order. And we received 1 proposal from engineering consultant, and part of the process involves us scoring that consultant's proposal. And we have score sheets that we will include. But just want to add that Bernier and Larios was selected, and we'll provide these score sheets to be included just within the folder regarding this application. But I'd like to move that we go ahead and officially select the engineering consultant that submitted a proposal and scored highest, which was Bernier and Larios. Someone want to second
I'll
my
second it.
motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else from our village board?
Not tonight.
Not tonight? Okay, so I'm gonna propose that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You wanna hit stop on the camera? Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.